Minutes of the previous meeting, April 6, 2015.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Ammons, seconded by Jacobson. Any additions or corrections? If not, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? That motion carries. Are there any additions to the agenda? Okay, I don't see any petitions and communications. Is there anyone who would like to address the Urbana City Council? I don't. Oh, you want to? Okay, did you fill out a little card? Please give that to the clerk.
While the visitor is proceeding, maybe I should mention that I invited Nancy Westcott because she's works with the Illinois Natural History Survey, not the History Survey?
Water Survey.
The Water Survey, but
Right.
she's an expert on understanding
Oops, sorry.
weather history and reconstruction of
Aha.
weather. And I talked to Nancy about the meteorological explanations for one of the origins of the name of the Boneyard Creek, and
Okay,
she agreed
great.
to research the meteorological plausibility of that.
Okay.
So
Nancy Westcott, research climatologist, Midwestern Regional Climate Center, Illinois State Water Survey, Prairie Research Institute, University of Illinois. Welcome.
Thank you. So I should
Go ahead, yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, now you know where I'm from. In the last 15 years, I've been involved in a project that's quality controlled data from the 19th century. And just to give you a little bit of history, you can see a time series of the data. Before 1850, there really was very little data and organized data. So what I'm going to present to you tonight is some organized data, but a lot of data from diaries. So there were two winters in the 1830s. The first one was 1835, which I had seen an article from Eric that described a severe winter. When I investigated this, there was a winter that preceded that in 1830-31 that was by far a more severe winter. Much of this information comes from a book by David Ludlum from 1968, Early American Winters from 1820 to 1870. As I said, the first winter, 1830-31, appeared to be quite widespread. Deep snow appeared to be quite widespread. The first snowfall was in late December, was 30 inches to 3 feet, which is more than we have seen in this century in any one snow. And that was followed by another foot of snow, and then by very cold temperatures, so the snow persisted. I've given you a lot of information, but on the back, talking about the effects of this winter, because the snow was so deep, they found that large mammals, such as horses, would sink into the snow, whereas lighter mammals, such as men and wolves, would not sink into the snow. Buffalo and deer also would sink into the snow. So commerce was pretty much brought to a halt, and the deer population was pretty much disseminated, and the buffalo population, if there were buffalo, I did not actually find evidence of buffalo in these records, but there is a theory that there are no buffalo east of the Mississippi because of this particular winter. But at any rate, the wolves really decimated the deer population. Another piece of evidence that this was a very severe winter is the term snowbirds. This seems to be quite common for at least central Illinois In all of Illinois, people who were born before 1830 were the snowbirds. They met regularly, annually at early settlers meetings for 50 years up until the 1880s. And it was, you know, they would get badges saying that I survived this particular winter. So the sources that I found are diverse enough. Many of the sources are from county records, plus there was weather data in St. Louis, Jacksonville, Illinois, northern Illinois, southern Minnesota, in Wisconsin. So this was a particularly severe winter. And so I think that in the end it was very possible that this particular winter could have resulted in bones congregating in the Boneyard Stream. The winter of 35-36, which had been discussed in that U of I article from, I don't know, 1925, I think it was a cold winter, and the winter started really in February. It had a very mild December, January, that they called it like an Indian summer, but February to March it was extremely cold well into April. But I do believe that the winter of 30-31 was the winter of interest and was more severe than certainly what we've seen in the last 50 years.
Well, thank you
So
very
that's
much.
what I
Any
found.
questions for Nancy?
So,
Eric?
so the bottom line isn't, it doesn't actually prove the story which has been repeated, you know, down through the years several times, that the boneyard is named after the bones of animals that froze to death in a hard winter, but it's at least meteorologically plausible.
I think it's very plausible.
Very plausible, yeah.
I mean, I think the evidence it was quite diverse. It was many different counties, so
Okay.
I suspect there's a large grain of truth in this.
So was there a connection with the eruption of the volcano Mount Tambora?
No, I would just say that Mount Tambora resulted in the summer, or the year without the summer, in 1816.
Oh,
But-
that was later?
And this occurred later.
Okay.
But-
Go ahead.
But there was an 1835 eruption in January 1835 in Nicaragua.
That's possible.
That's a different volcano?
That's a different volcano. That's
Okay.
Right.
Cosiguina.
Oh.
And maybe it led to the severe winter, but at least looking at the temperature and snow records from that
30-31 was
particular
worse.
winter, it was more similar to our winters from the, you know, the late 1970s.
Mhm.
So I think this first winter is the one that is of interest.
Sure,
And-
yeah.
Well, thank you so much.
Sure.
Okay, is there anyone else who would like to address the Urbana City Council? All right, we will move on. Unfinished business, I don't think we have any that we're going to deal with today. Reports of standing committees, Committee of the Whole.
Yeah, that'd be me.
Dennis?
So we have a good list of items that have been forwarded to the City Council for approval variously from the Committee of the Whole that met last week. First of which is ordinance number 2015-04-033, an ordinance revising the annual budget ordinance for the fiscal year 2014 to 15 concerning arbor programs and funding. For the committee, I move approval.
Second?
Motion by Robert, seconded by Smythe. Any discussion?
Yes.
Mr. Madigan.
Yeah, all I have to say about this is we're one of those Tree City USA communities, and I think that's great. I have no problem with the Ameren commitment to this. But the state commitment, I think if we were to be if we were to be thinking about this more holistically in light of the state finances, this might be one of those things that we would think twice about accepting. And frankly, I would advocate for a letter to the state to say, how about you hold off on all of these and transfer a few million from this fund to help some to help out with some issues that are far more pressing than creating videos about how to select, plant, and prune trees. I have no problem with, and frankly I'm proud of, the program we have here in Urbana. But given the state of the state's finances, I have a real hard time with even accepting a small amount, relatively speaking, from the state of Illinois for something like this. When you can, and any citizen who is interested in pruning a tree or planting a tree can Google almost 250 million hits on how to do this. So I'm really not trying to criticize this. I'm just trying to point out that we are accepting a state grant in the midst of a fiscal crisis that the state is enduring, and we are all part of that state. So the Ameren part I have no issue with. Obviously, folks who are Ameren customers are going to pay the freight for that, and that's fine. I think it's nice that we get a little bit back as a city, for the ratepayers in the city. But my struggle is with the state funding portion of this, and so I will vote no.
Okay, anyone else? Would the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Ammons?
Yes.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Jacobson?
Yes.
Mr. Madigan?
No.
Ms. Marlin?
Yes.
Mr. Roberts?
Yes.
Mr. Smythe?
Yes.
Mayor Pressing?
Yes. That motion carries.
Next is resolution number 2015-04-020R, a resolution to amend section 6 of the resolution number 2014-01-002R to extend the IDOT Traffic Study Task Force preliminary report deadline to June 30th, 2015. And for the committee, I move approval.
Motion by Roberts, seconded by Smythe. Any discussion? Would the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Ammons?
Yes.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Jacobson?
Yes.
Mr. Madigan?
Yes.
Ms. Marlin?
Yes.
Mr. Roberts?
Yes.
Mr. Smythe?
Yes.
That motion carries.
Next is resolution number 2015-04-014R, a resolution approving modifications to the City of Urbana and Urbana Home Consortium for the year 2014-15 Annual Action Plan relating to neighborhood revitalization and program income. And for the committee, I move approval.
Second.
Motion by Roberts, seconded by Marlin. Any discussion? Would the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Ammons?
Yes.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Jacobson?
Yes.
Mr. Madigan?
Yes.
Ms. Marlin?
Yes.
Mr. Roberts?
Yes.
Mr. Smythe?
That motion carries.
Next is resolution number 2015-04-015R, a resolution certifying a community housing development organization for the Urbana Home Consortium, and this has to do with Habitat Spring 2015. And for the committee, I move approval.
Motion by Roberts, seconded by Smythe. Any discussion? Would the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Ammons?
Yes.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Jacobson?
Yes.
Mr. Madigan?
Yes.
Ms. Marlin?
Yes.
Mr. Roberts?
Yes.
Mr. Smythe?
That motion carries.
Next is resolution number 2015-04-016R, a resolution approving and authorizing the execution of an Urbana Home Consortium Community Housing Development Organization Agreement concerning Habitat Chudo developer for the year 2014 and 15. And for the committee, I move approval.
Second.
Motion by Roberts, seconded by Ammons. Any discussion? Would the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Ammons?
Yes.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Jacobson?
Yes.
Mr. Madigan?
Yes.
Ms. Marlin?
Yes.
Mr. Roberts?
Yes.
Mr. Smythe?
Yes.
That motion carries.
Next, item F on the agenda, resolution number 2015-04-017R. A resolution approving additional modifications to the City of Urbana and Urbana Home Consortium for the year 2000, fiscal year for 2013 to 14 annual action plan. And this has to do with the home county TBRA amendment. And for the committee, I move approval.
Motion by Roberts, seconded by Smythe. Any discussion? Would the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Ammons?
Yes.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Jacobson?
Yes.
Mr. Madigan?
Yes.
Ms. Marlin?
Yes.
Mr. Roberts?
Yes.
Mr. Smythe?
Yes.
That motion carries.
Okay, we have next ordinance number 2015-04-032. An ordinance revising the annual budget ordinance for the fiscal year 2014 to 15 Emergency Solutions Grant. And for the committee, I move approval.
Motion by Roberts, seconded by Smythe. Any discussion? Would the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Ammons?
Yes.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Jacobson?
Yes.
Mr. Madigan?
Yes.
Ms. Marlin?
Yes.
Mr. Roberts?
Yes.
Mr. Smythe?
Yes.
Mayor Pressing?
Yes, that motion carries.
Next, we have resolution number 2015-04-018R, a resolution approving the transfer of volume cap in connection with the private activity bond issue, single-family mortgage revenue bonds, and related matters having to do with private bond cap allocations for EIEDA Series 2015. And for the for the committee, I move for approval.
Second.
Motion by Roberts, seconded by Ammons. Any discussion? Would the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Ammons?
Yes.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Jacobson?
Yes.
Mr. Madigan?
Yes.
Ms. Marlin?
Yes.
Mr. Roberts?
Yes.
Mr. Smythe?
That motion carries.
All right. Next, we have ordinance number 2015-04-013, an ordinance revising the annual budget ordinance for the fiscal year 2014 and 15 historic preservation grant. And for the committee, I move approval.
Second.
Motion by Roberts, seconded by Ammons. Any discussion? Would the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Ammons?
Yes.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Jacobson?
Yes.
Mr. Madigan?
Yes.
Ms. Marlin?
Yes.
Mr. Roberts?
Yes.
Mr. Smythe?
Is that an ordinance?
And Mayor Pressing?
Yes. That motion carries.
Right. And just for the public, I want to, we seem to be approving these without comment, but it's because that last week we talked about them at length during Committee of the Whole. All right, so resolution number 2015-04-019R, a resolution approving and authorizing the execution of a promotional and marketing agreement for Pygmalion Technology Conference. This is Fine and Bersoni Incorporated. For the year 2015-16, this has to do with a festival, technology conference. For the committee, I move approval.
Motion by Roberts, seconded by Smythe. Is there any discussion?
Yes.
Yes, go ahead.
One of the things that I had a chance to meet with Seth Fine after this, and I did explain to him personally that in the future I would like to see people come with more detailed, itemized detail, what they want to do with whatever it is that they're asking, whatever the amount is that they're asking from us, even if we can't identify exactly what it is, what they want to do with what they're asking us for, at least an itemized, detailed description of what their total budget is and what they plan to do with that, so that we'll have some clarity. I know the Pygmalion has been going on for a long time. It's going to bring quite a bit of, business and opportunities to us in the city of Urbana. So I don't have a problem supporting it. I'm just saying as we move forward, I think that we should ask for more detailed accounts of some of these things before we approve them.
Okay, anyone else? Mike?
Well, I I just want to say I agree with Aaron. I just think they were very short on detail, and while they have a popular festival that arguably brings revenue to the city, I would agree. I think there needs to be a little more fleshing out of why this money is needed. We are ready to pass this through with little or no debate when we thought long and hard about the same dollar commitment for the IHSA tournament. Well, some of us did, and others did not. But I think that these type of festivals and events that are held in the city, they're held here for a reason, and I'm not quite so sure that the city ought to be financially participating, because the city is a good venue for these things, and the city is actually benefiting the festival and not the other way around. So, but I shouldn't say that. The city, it is a mutual thing, but I'm not so sure that the city should be subsidizing these. I won't stand in the way this time, but I would agree with Aaron that next time everyone should be a little more critical of their need and press them harder on the reason for it.
Dennis?
Yeah, and as I recall, they had also approached the Arts Commission for support, but there were a lot of programs that were contending for the limited funds of the Arts Commission. This is not one that the Arts Commission felt was sufficiently documented to fund, and so I think this also resonates with the concerns that some of the members of the City Council has expressed tonight.
Anyone else? Charlie?
Yeah, this is a proof of concept event, I think, and I'm trusting it to go forward in a fairly successful way because of the people involved have successfully pulled off past events. I know Matt Cho was marginally involved as a member of the downtown business there, and several others in that related to that. And so I think it is clearly a gamble that we're taking. This is a sponsorship being done here, and so we take a look. We see what happens this year, and if they can't report back adequately, we won't be supporting them next year. But hopefully they'll have a very successful event, and we'll be talking how we can make it even better next year.
Diane?
I intend to support this, but I do think it's appropriate to ask for a report after this event is over. So if we need to add that to this resolution, I would amend it to include a follow-up report.
I would second that.
Okay, there's a motion to amend the agreement to ask for a follow-up report on what, how many people attended, and
Yeah, the actual budget,
And the
the
actual-
attendance, the venues, you know, the typical things, expenditures, the sort of thing we see from the UBA when they hold the Sweet Corn Fest. Not that detailed, but
okay.
basic information about the impact on the city.
Okay, so is that a friendly amendment, would you say?
Sure.
Okay. Anyone object to it? Okay, we'll have that added as a friendly amendment. So we're going to modify the agreement to require a report.
Do we want to vote on that
A
amendment?
financial, beg your pardon?
Do we vote on the amendment?
No,
It's
it's a
friendly.
friendly amendment,
Okay.
so we're just putting it in there because everybody agrees to it. So we'll rewrite it to include that, and would the clerk now please call the roll?
Mr. Ammons?
Yes.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Jacobson?
Yes.
Mr. Madigan?
Yes.
Ms. Marlin?
Yes.
Mr. Roberts?
Yes.
Mr. Smythe?
Yes.
Mayor Pressing? Oh, you
Yes.
will vote on
Well,
this, okay.
Whether I can vote or not, it's still passed.
The mayor
Okay.
expresses approval.
Yes, right. And I am for accountability. I think it
Yeah.
was a great idea.
Good idea.
Thank you for thinking about stuff. Okay, Dennis, go ahead.
Yeah, so, okay, we'll go down to now ordinance number 2015-04-034, an ordinance amending Urbana City Code, Chapter 3, Section 3-43, increasing the number of Class C liquor licenses for OMSAI LLC, operating as Urbana Mini Mart, 1701 Philo Road. And for the committee, I move approval.
Second.
Okay, motion by Roberts, seconded by Ammons. And I just want to add, oh yes, go ahead, Mr. Madigan.
So state law requires me to recuse myself.
Okay, we will follow state law, and thank you. Okay, I did send out an email to everybody because we had a question about what was going on here. This is an existing business with a Class BBB license, which is for beer and wine only, off-premise consumption. And they're asking to change it to a Class C, which includes beer, wine, and other liquor, which is a more expensive liquor license, but it's for off-premise consumption. So this is an existing business. And while I'm talking about this, there was also a question about the next item, and that is a new business, and they had originally asked to be a restaurant, but after you questioned it, we talked with them some more, and it's really a Korean-style karaoke bar. So they're going to now request a Class A, which is retail alcoholic liquor drinker package on or off premises, and that is also a more expensive license. So right now, we have, it was Roberts and Ammons on item K, is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Are there any questions about that one? Okay, would the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Ammons?
Yes.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Jacobson?
Yes.
Ms. Marlin?
Yes.
Mr. Roberts?
Yes.
Mr. Smythe?
Yes.
That motion carries.
Lastly, we have ordinance number 2015-04-035, an ordinance amending Urbana City Code, Chapter 3, Section 3-43, increasing the number of Class A liquor licenses for Pan Huang LLC, operating as AI Tune at 1110 East, A-Tune? iTune. Oh, very clever. At 1110 East University Avenue. And for the committee, I move approval.
Second.
Okay, motion by Roberts, seconded by Marlin. Any discussion? Yes.
I just want to thank you for clarifying this.
Well, sorry, I didn't make it clear to begin with. But anyway, I think it's going to be a nice business. Okay, any other questions? Would the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Ammons?
Yes.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Jacobson?
Yes.
Ms. Marlin?
Yes.
Mr. Roberts?
Yes.
Mr. Smythe?
Yes.
That motion carries.
Lastly, we have ordinance number 2015-04-035, an ordinance amending Urbana City Code, Chapter 3, Section 3-43, increasing the number of Class A liquor licenses for Pan Huang LLC, operating as AI Tune at 1110 East, A-Tune? iTune. Oh, very clever. At 1110 East University Avenue. And for the committee, I move approval.
Second.
Okay, motion by Roberts, seconded by Marlin. Any discussion? Yes.
I just want to thank you for clarifying this.
Well, sorry, I didn't make it clear to begin with. But anyway, I think it's going to be a nice business. Okay, any other questions? Would the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Ammons?
Yes.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Jacobson?
Yes.
Ms. Marlin?
Yes.
Mr. Roberts?
Yes.
Mr. Smythe?
Yes.
That motion carries. Okay, reports of special committees. Do we have any? Dennis?
Yeah. I just wanted to say that I and Scotty Dossett went up to the Illinois Sister City Association annual meeting. You remember we had one here last year in Urbana. This was in Naperville, and I attended it, and we learned a few things that was of interest. The Sister Cities International annual meeting is going to be in Minneapolis in July, so it's something that people who have interest in this organization may wish to attend. And in October, I believe it's at the end of October, the Sister Cities International is going to hold a second U.S.-China relationship conference. They're going to bring in representatives of sister cities from China to Chicago to hold a 2-day conference. So they're going to be working with the various sister cities who have relationships in China to discuss about inviting individuals from their Chinese sister cities to participate. I don't know if there's going to be funding to do that, but the invitation will come out. So it's one of the things that we're involved in because we have Haizhou District and Guangzhou City as a sister city. Currently, we're not doing any kind of grant work with them at this time. So it would be a great way to continue that relationship. And also, we are looking at an invitation to our sister city in France to come visit us in September. We'll have to work that out with details with the mayor.
We do have perhaps some Chinese visitors from Haizhou District coming in August. I don't have firm dates on that, but we might see some Chinese visitors in August. And we need a committee, which I'll be working on, and anybody who would like to help to entertain our French visitors.
Oui.
Okay? Yes, Eric?
So this isn't exactly a committee report, but it's a follow-up on the resolution we passed for criminal justice reform. And it's clear that county is, we were one voice, but I think an important voice in saying that if we were going to spend a significant amount of money on our criminal justice system, it ought to be in the reform direction. And the sheriff and the Champaign County Mental Health Board have now invited for a public presentation and consulting Leon Evans, who's primary architect of diversion program, very, very successful diversion program in San Antonio, Texas. Their county jail was overflowing, and they were going to be sanctioned for the bad conditions there, and we're faced with something similar to what Champaign County was faced with. And instead of enlarging the jail, they created a diversion program and built a facility, a diversion facility. They have, for mental health and substance abuse treatment, they actually have a team of police officers who are mental health officers who respond to calls where it appears that, and also do community policing on relative to mental health. So Evans is going to be at the county building. He's doing a presentation and discussion 1:15 Thursday afternoon. And
This Thursday?
this coming Thursday.
He's competing with the vice president, right?
He's competing with the vice president, and I am going to see Mr. Evans. Because I think he has something really substantial.
Okay,
say
so
to
where
us.
is this going to be?
At-
1:15 Thursday?
1:15 Thursday in the Lyle Shields room at the Brookins
Okay,
building.
Brookins Lyle Shields room. Okay, thank you.
And I think I'm just I am, I always try to restrain myself to cautious optimism, but I'm wildly cautiously optimistic that we're moving in the right direction this time, and so I think we should feel good about the resolution we passed, but I think we should also stay active and alert and encourage this direction moving forward.
Charlie?
I'm just hoping to get a free massage on Thursday. Actually, so on behalf of the Urbana-Champaign Big Broadband Committee, I'm pleased to announce that our partner ITV3 has pulled its first permit for its first neighborhood to begin construction of fiber to the home. And we should see locating trucks out there this week, and hopefully construction within 2 weeks of the first neighborhood section. That's roughly the neighborhood of bounded by Florida, Michigan, Vine, and Lincoln in Urbana. And it's the first of what we hope are half a dozen neighborhoods that are additionally getting very close to qualifying to the 50% threshold. So we're hoping that once people see construction underway, we'll get those last commitments needed to get a few more neighborhoods underway this year.
Diane.
And I just wanted to let people know that at 7:30 on this Thursday, April 23rd, you can go to meetings from dawn to dusk. The annual update from Busey Bank's Ed Charlo on the economic state of the financial state of the county will be at the I Hotel.
Aaron?
What's the lady's name? Our state representative, Carol Ammons.
Yes, I've heard of her.
She has Ralph Martiri, the tax and budget accountability event is Monday, the 27th, from 4 to 6 at the Urbana Free Library, I think it is.
It's Champaign.
Champaign Library. So people can come out and listen to a very exciting and informative conversation or presentation by Mr. Martiri. You would definitely learn a lot about the budget. We were talking about that, so I think folks should come out and learn something from that event on Monday the 27th from 4 to 6.
I would like to say that the county for a long time has had diversion programs. I mean, they've been thinking. I think that it's good to support what they're doing, but Healthcare Consumers gave an award to the sheriff's office for their openness to mental health and for their program that they have. So I think a lot of the changes that we see taking place, the progressive things, are really going on in cities and counties. Local governments seem to be pushing forward on this.
Can I just respond to that
Sure.
or add something to that? I don't know if everybody else saw the mayor in Chicago. They're doing something different with the low-level amounts of marijuana, and how they're handling those particular cases. And we saw something here locally with Judge Ford and the people who are suffering from heroin addiction and things like that. So as we talk about new ways to approach these public health issues, and they're not really criminal issues, they should be public health issues, I really look forward to the city of Urbana also taking a more progressive step in dealing with some of those issues also. I know we've done some of that, but I think it's high time that we move even further with some of the work that we can do as home rule around some of these issues as well.
Okay, any other reports of officers? Mike Munson.
I just wanted to let you know that Ameren, Illinois is expected to release its default rate for electricity in a week or two. And if you recall, about a year ago, we were a little bit disappointed that our aggregated rate was a little bit higher than the default rate. Our rate is 4.74 cents per kilowatt hour versus 4.54 cents for the default rate. But indications are that our rate may be much more competitive this time around. There was something called a capacity auction held, and I can't begin to explain that, but I guess the net result is it's going to add about $150 a year in electricity costs to the average household, and that won't affect us because we have a contract, a fixed contract. So indications are we should have a pretty competitive rate. So we'll see.
Okay, we have new business, ordinance number 2015-04-036, an ordinance approving a major variance, which is an increase in the area of a projecting sign up to 64.75 square feet in 508 North Goodwin Avenue. Oh, you wanted to give a report?
Please.
Okay, go ahead.
One more. I realize there's
Sorry
lots
about
of
that.
reports
I
tonight.
was looking this way and not that way.
I put on your desk tonight an MCOR brochure flyer. And a couple things I want to highlight is that tomorrow we're going to have a press release at noon at the Alma Mater Plaza. If it's bad weather, it'll be inside the Illini Union Ballroom A. But it's going to officially announce this $34 million project and the 4 partners, which are the U of I, the 2 cities, and MTD. And we have a little map of the projects. Our project, our Green Street, it's broken up into 2 parts. Project 1 between Wright and Busey. The Project 5 is between Busey and Race Street. And one important note is there will be a MCOR project open house for the public on Tuesday, May 5th. It'll be broken up into 2 segments between 11 and 2 and 4 and 6, again at the Illini Union Ballroom C. So that will be for all anyone interested in the project and its details, and there's like 5 distinct projects. We're most interested in 1 and 5, but collectively it's a great improvement to the community to help with transportation and intermodal travel within the 2 cities and campus. So again, that public project open house for MCOR is Tuesday, May 5th, 11 to 2 p.m. and 4 to 6 p.m. Illini Union Ballroom C.
And the press release is tomorrow, you said?
Yes, tomorrow at noon at the Alma Mater Plaza. And if it's inclement weather, it'll be inside the Illini Union Ballroom A at noontime. Be about 30 minutes most, probably.
Okay. Any questions for Bill Gray? Are there any other reports of officers? Looking around. Okay. We'll move on with ordinance number 2015-04-036, which is a zoning variance for a sign above the first story in the city's B3 General Business District at 1010 West University Avenue and 508 North Goodwin Avenue. Yes, go ahead.
Hello. So as you're probably familiar with, there is the campus circle development at 1010 West University Avenue. It's a mixed-use development with retail, commercial on the first floor, and then several floors of residential above that, 180 approximately, give or take a few apartment buildings above that. It was approved through several variances, allowing for its density in previous years, with a special use permit approved in 2012 and reapproved last year, obviously. The development has requested a variance for a projecting blade sign. This is a rendering. You'll see on the far right the proposed signage that they would like to install. It is 64.75 square feet in area, and it extends from the second floor, roughly from the second floor to the 4th floor, approximately. It would be beyond the allowed square footage in this district, roughly almost double 32 square feet. Also, it would be asking for a variance in the placement, which does not allow for placement of projecting signs above the first floor in the B3 district. So just a quick overview of the area. The subject property is zoned B3. To the north, you'll see an area you'll see several utility parcels as well as single-family residential. To the west, there are several fast food restaurants and a hotel. To the east, a pawn shop as well. To the south, a few other commercial properties transitioning into the university. The comprehensive plan has designated this as a transitional corridor. It's obviously the busiest east-west street through the city, but it kind of transitions between the nice residential neighborhoods to the north to denser, busier, more compact university neighborhoods to the south. And you'll see B3 as well as R2 and R5 to the south below that, and B3U a little bit as well. In the future land use map, this parcel was designated as community business, as well as some of the other surrounding parcels. So basically the question is why the applicant is requesting variances for the particular signage, in that obviously it's a very dense development that was approved through the appropriate city processes, and the frontage that it has along University Avenue, a very prominent street with high volume of traffic as well. And it's the only opportunity in the very dense development that allows for signage and identification, as we discussed in a case earlier in December about the importance of proper identification and wayfinding for this area, that a development as prominent as this for hundreds of residents as well as a commercial entity on the first floor to have proper signage is rather important. The footprint of the building, because it takes up so much of the parcel, it has a very close proximity to University Avenue as well, which was approved in its variances and its special use permit, limits its options of available signage that it can put on the building. So the applicant is proposing a projecting blade sign. Just go back down to it to help visualize with what I'm discussing. So it's a projecting blade sign that's approximately 3.5 feet, that extends 3.5 feet from the building, and it's 18.5 feet high. It has a clearance above the first floor of 21.75 feet. And obviously the request is larger than what is allowed. So to go through the criteria for the major variance, because it's an increase of more than 25%, the first question of if the proposed variance is because of special circumstances or practical difficulties with reference to the parcel. As I mentioned earlier, it's a very dense development that was approved for the parcel, and a projecting blade sign that would be in compliance with the zoning ordinance for this particular district would not provide the best identification for the scale of the building and for the volume of traffic on the corridor. The building is a large development, and it was approved through the appropriate city processes for allowing something this dense. The next question is, will the proposed variance serve as a special privilege because the variance requested is necessary due to special circumstances relating to the land and structure involved, or to be used for occupancy, therefore, of which is not generally applicable to other land or structures in the same district? The proximity of the structure to University Avenue does not really allow for a freestanding sign. So as I mentioned, the options for the signage is limited. A two-sided projecting blade sign would allow for a consistent outcome with the planned development. This is consistent with renderings and illustrations that have been proposed through the variances and special use permits over the last several years. Does the requested variance, was it not the result of a situation or a condition having been knowingly or deliberately created by the petitioner? Not in that sense, because the general size and scale of the building was approved by the Plan Commission and through the council. The approval of the variance is necessary to allow for signage that is, I think, most compatible and aesthetically matching to the scale and location of the building. The next question asks if the variance alters the essential character of the neighborhood or not. It's important to point out that there are several businesses along this corridor, very close in proximity, that have freestanding signs that are of similar height and area, some of which were installed before the current standards for the zoning ordinance were enacted, but they're legal nonconformities. So in essence, because the sign is a projecting sign, not a freestanding sign, it would still have similar characteristics to other signs in the area. So in that sense, it wouldn't be altering much of the character in the neighborhood at all. It also is worth noting that if the sign were independent, that it would have a much independent, not projecting from the building, that it would have a much larger allowable area according to the ordinance. And then the criteria of the variance will not cause a nuisance to the adjacent property. The sign still maintains the 5 feet or less extension from the building. The sign also matches the vertical nature of the building as well. Because it's vertical, it keeps it limited to how far it extends out from the shadow or the footprint of the building. So it would not impede visibility or traffic for the adjacent lots. And the last question asks, the variance represents generally the minimum deviation from requirements of the zoning ordinance necessary to accommodate the request. As mentioned earlier, the sign is consistent with approved illustrations and architectural plans of previous applications. It's obviously important that the applicant, who is here tonight as well, or a representative from the applicant, to answer any questions if you have any, would mention that it's the only opportunity for identification along the very busiest corridor that it sits next to, as opposed to the other frontage being near Goodwin. But to have lettering that is large enough and size that is large enough for identification. It also has come up in conversations. This was noted with the zoning board, I think, made note of this as well, but it's been coming up with conversations through staff that the contemporary nature of these signs might merit consideration for accommodation in the zoning ordinance through perhaps a zoning amendment in future conversations. I just wanted to briefly show some other examples of where this has been done in the Champaign-Urbana area. This is in Champaign, but it is near Jupiter's, for a building of somewhat similar height. It extends above the first floor, and you can see how it doesn't extend too far from the building, but it, nice and vertical, shows the nature of the signage. This sign is for Gregory Place. It's a little smaller as well, and it complies with code, but it's just another example of the contemporary nature of this sign. And then I also, I just realized this today, so it's not included in the memo, but this is for downtown Champaign. Now, this building is obviously much taller than the Campus Circle building would be, but just another example to show where, you know, for the Hyatt Place Hotel.
Is that the scale basically where we would see 3-story and about that size?
Yeah, it extends above the, I believe that goes from the second story to probably the third or fourth, but somewhat similar, yes. So that's something that might be worthy of consideration for a future amendment in the zoning ordinance, at least in regards to this this corridor, at least because of the dense nature of this corridor represents as a transition to a much denser part of the city. So the city may approve the variance based on the findings in this memo. They may approve the variance with certain terms and conditions, or they may deny the variance if they care to. The Zoning Board of Appeals voted with three ayes and 1 nay to approve the adjustment, or I'm sorry, to approve the variance in the size, the allowable size of the sign, and they voted unanimously 4 ayes to 0 nays for the placement, for the variance allowing the placement of the sign. So in both variances were recommended for approval by the ZBA, and staff concurs with those approvals.
You have questions, Charlie?
Yeah, Christopher, thank you. A couple of 3 thoughts and questions here. You talked about freestanding signs. The freestanding signs along here are how big, roughly? I'm trying to picture the ones. I'm trying to remember the other signs along there. Are they in that same general size? Is what you're saying, about 3 stories high?
I wasn't able to do a survey of specific measurements, but they're significantly larger than
What this would be?
Or at least of similar height. And if it were square footage area, there would be a much larger allowable area than
Okay. And then
32 square feet.
I'm trying to remember, the other one I'm trying to picture is Campus Town itself, between Wright and First Street. Some of those are also taller buildings. What are they doing for identifying those through there? Are the setbacks seem about the same. They're fairly
In
close
Campus
to
Town?
Yeah.
Frankly, we did not examine Campus Town as a example to match what was considered along this district. Campus Town this is a dense corridor, but Campus Town is significantly more dense, I think.
Yeah. Okay. And then the only other thing you sort of talk about looking at text amendments. I assume that would be like next year to the zoning.
Summer in an omnibus.
Okay, oh, okay. Yeah, it's still time for that this year. Yeah, I'm just a little concerned about setting a precedent here we've got the smaller ones, the one-story ones like at Gregory Place. You know, I've spoken how I'm a big fan of monument signs and keeping things toned down a little bit. The Hyatt sign is an important consideration for me because it gives me the scale of what this would look like against a building and whether it's too big or not. And I guess it's good to know that the actual square footage is smaller than a freestanding sign.
Okay, I think Mike was next, and then Eric.
So is this a backlit sign?
It is not lit at night it's an LED sign, so,
It's LED.
yeah.
Okay, so it's a digital sign.
But it
I don't,
doesn't blink.
it's not digital, but it's LED lit.
So it's
The
not programmable, but it's LED, backlit LED or LED on its face. Okay, so it's a matter of lighting, so it's backlit. It's a matter of LED behind a couple of plastic or composite faces. Okay. That was really my only question. I think it fits the proportion of the building very well.
Eric?
No, the issue that hasn't come up, but that comes to my mind right away, is safety. People are trying to find this place, and a blade sign of significant size, so that people who are coming along University Avenue at the speed that they do will be able to see this in time to, find it and not pile 6 cars up behind them. So I think it's a very good idea.
Aaron Ammons.
I don't know if this is actually a concern, but when I think about the pawn shop to the east of it, and then I think it's Hot Walk, and then another restaurant in front of that. Yeah, and that's going more to the west. Is this building and this signage going to, are they going to have the same problem? People being able to see where they are and having the same safety issues that Eric just raised, or is their signage considerably big enough for everybody to locate them as well?
Well, they're a little more set back from the right-of-way than I believe this development is. I know that, just visual, I believe they also have freestanding monument signs close to the right-of-way that really isn't an option for this because of its proximity to the street.
Right.
So I don't believe they'll have similar problems because they have more signage options, and because their freestanding signs, I think, eliminate the problems that this building would have.
I don't know if this is an actual question for you. It's not really directly to the blade sign, but given the concern about safety and in the street, will there be do we have to reconstruct University for people to be able to turn who are heading east to be able to turn into this facility? Or do we just leave it the way it is? And maybe that's a Bill Gray question. I don't know. I was just wondering.
Well, it certainly is a question that comes up with both Public Works and with planning, but I don't think that there was any concern brought up in our internal meetings about. I think that the reason that the request in this variance is to prevent people from not noticing it soon enough, and the size I think would allow for an appropriate identification of someone who might be eastbound, and so. Bill, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think that was considered an issue with him, so yeah.
Any other questions? Eric?
I'll move we approve these 2 variances.
Second.
Okay, motion by Jacobson, seconded by Madigan. Any discussion? Dennis?
And just to answer Aaron's question, you were asking about maybe the safety of left-hand turns into the driveway. But, okay, so I didn't go out and look at it, but I'm looking at the overview map, the aerial map, and it looks like there's a turn lane down the center of the building, down the center of the road on University, so that's like a safe turn lane for turning left. across traffic into the building. So I think, yeah, we don't have to
It
require.
is a 5-lane.
Yeah.
I was just trying to, I couldn't see the proximity. I see it down to the other streets.
Yeah, it's a good question, though.
Anyone else? Okay, we have a motion by Jacobson, seconded by Madigan. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Ammons?
Yes.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Jacobson?
Yes.
Mr. Madigan?
Yes.
Ms. Marlin?
Yes.
Mr. Roberts?
Yes.
Mr. Smythe?
Yes.
That motion carries. Thank you very much.
We have,
And I
yeah.
do have a card from Angel Johnson, who wants to talk about streetlights.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Angel Johnson. I live at 1509 South Rutledge in Urbana. And tonight, I just, we have a concern on our block, and I've spoke with several neighbors on our block and in that area where I live at, okay? We're off Florida. We live east of Urbana. And what's happening is, a lot of things have transpired that we was unaware of, and a lot of neighbors moved out and a lot of neighbors moved in, okay? At first, we didn't have street lights, and we asked for street lights about 5 years ago in that area, and we was denied, and the city said that if we want street lights, then we pay for them, for the street lights to be put in on our block. Well, I like to ask that I like to let you know that we need street lights at this time, but we don't want to pay for them. That's the whole thing. Because we never knew that the neighborhood was going to change. We're homeowners, okay? And the neighborhood has tremendously changed. We have more low-income residents now than we had before. People on our street are renting their properties where they couldn't before, okay? So now we just have a real concern because it's really, really, really dark, very dark. And so when people are walking down the street or a car coming past, they can't see you. When you get outside your car, if you have on dark clothes, they just can't see you. And now the traffic has really picked up. And so the street I live on, I mean, they're flying, like, speeding really fast. And we just afraid someone might get, hit or picked up on the block. Also, when you're coming up to your residence, you should be able to see who's out on your street or who's at your door or who's knocking on your door at night, We just have a real concern. Many of my neighbors was supposed to be here tonight, so some must have came up, but I did start a petition, so I have to finish it, but we have put things into place. We have started, like I went around and they're signing, okay, saying that, yes, we do need streetlights now, because at first we didn't really need it. You knew who your neighbor was. At first. Everyone knew who was who, and now we don't know our neighbor. We don't know the neighborhood that we live in. At least 4 blocks, I don't know, who's who. But like I said, traffic have picked up, and the crime rate really has picked up. You know that. We live east. All the crime now happening in the east. Okay, the north side is being cleared out because they're building, commercial properties now. So that area on the north end has moved out to the east end, and so the north end is safe and developing, okay? So I just like to make a suggestion that we get some street lights in that area out there, East Urbana, from Rutledge all the way back to Washington. You have Learman, you have all the way back over to Curtis, Lincolnwood, all the way back over to Florida, Philo. You know, just our neighborhoods need to be, you know, protected.
So does your petition spell out what streets you want to have streetlights?
Yes, and we're still working on that because we left out, I guess, a couple more towards Washington area. So we're going to go back and add a few more streets to cover everyone, so it won't look like we just asking for our area to be protected or be, you know.
Okay, well,
lit up.
we'll certainly, get us the petition, and we'll have the Public Works Department take a look at it. But if you're worried about crime, have you thought about a neighborhood watch association?
Well, I attend a neighborhood watch meeting. I called Stephanie. I don't have my notes with me tonight. I can't think of her name. She's a new pastor of Four Corner Squares. Okay, Stephanie. And we had a meeting at her church, and actually, I was one that was appointed to be Neighborhood Crime Watch. And as I called her back for several times for a whole year, none of them have called me from this meeting. I went to the church, knocked on the door, and no one has responded to my letter. I left a little note, you know, saying, hey, Steph, Pastor, I'm trying to contact you, get back in touch. What happened with the crime meeting? You know, so we was going through to get it together, so they appointed myself and someone else. And I can't remember the lady's name, but I don't know what happened. No one is communicating, emails, nothing, no response. So I don't know what's happening with the Crime Watch at this moment.
We could have a representative from the police department meet with a group of people that are interested in Neighborhood Watch.
Okay, great. That sounds
So
great.
I will give them, would you like me to give them your address?
That's fine.
Okay, and they can get a hold of you?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Any questions? Oh, Mike Madigan?
I would also just say, you mentioned speeding on your street. If you could give us the street you live on. Maybe you said that. I didn't catch it. But, I'm the chairman of the Traffic Commission, and the police department regularly hears complaints and concerns from citizens, and the police department and Public Works follow up with speed studies to to actually measure what's going on over a period of time on your street. So if you would also like that to happen in your neighborhood. I don't have an answer to the street lights. That's above my pay grade, but that's Public Works and other folks. But the speed study can happen if you want to try to initiate that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, there's a question from Charlie.
It was Rutledge, right? Correct.
Rutledge,
yeah.
yes.
Yeah, and the historical issue here is that neighborhoods were allowed to be built without sidewalks and streetlights at one time, and so, neighborhoods were built at cheaper cost because they weren't done that way, and now it's turning around and biting us in the what, because we allowed that at one time, so. Yeah, this is a historical issue, and it's hard to fix in retrospect. Because
Well, we
it's
have sidewalks.
It's expensive.
We have-
But there are other neighborhoods that don't have sidewalks or streetlights.
Yeah.
So both things happen, and it's a pain when it comes back like this.
I'd like to also get your phone number after the meeting, okay?
Sure.
I think Aaron has a question.
You said earlier that you had already approached the city once before, and you all were told that you had to pay for them yourselves.
Yes, if we want streetlights like on our block, then we'll pay taxes on it. We'll pay for the streetlights. And so we said no, of course, because they went up on our taxes again in Urbana. And we already paying a really big high mortgage, and, we just couldn't afford it at the time, and right now we still can't, being that everything is still outrageous in the economy and everything is, going up. And so we just feel like since they moved other people in and they didn't take a concern to even ask us about, we're thinking about doing this in the next 8 years or 10 years or however many years they went to planning. We was really unaware that the neighborhood was going to change that rapidly, like that fast. And
So the issue of streetlights, regardless of who lives there, if it's dark and people are
Yes.
speeding, then it's dangerous regardless of who lives there. So
Yes.
the major concern that I'm hearing is that the lighting, we've talked about this in even some of our city goals, that public safety, a lot of the citizens say that lighting is an issue for them when as
Yes.
relates to
Yeah.
safety. And I was just wondering if there was a policy that we had of some sort that is Ms. Johnson speaking to, is that, yeah.
Dennis?
I don't know, Bill, if you want to answer this one or not, but I mean, I certainly remember this conversation relating to the streets in the East Urbana neighborhood. You're probably going to maybe just reiterate the information that I learned then. Are you?
Sure.
Want to?
We do get calls for streetlights in neighborhoods, residential areas in the city. And basically, I guess there's three things I could offer. Where there's blocks that are unlit, you're absolutely correct. There is a cost sharing. We have a policy. It's in our capital improvement plan and the resolution we look at and it passes every year. There's cost sharing information. I forget exactly if it's 50, 60% of the residents, and the city picks up the difference. But I could get that information. And then usually it's a special service area that we would form, and there would be a cost per each lot, and you would pay that off over a 10-year period of time at a low interest rate. Nowadays it's 3% or 4% or something like that. And if you break it down, per the home, then I could do that if your neighborhood is interested. It's a fairly modest amount of money each year that you would pay. Option two is some areas of the city we've been able to use other grant monies, and again, those funds are very limited, tight. Sometimes there's block grant money we've been able to use to help pay for street lighting, and that's a possible area. I don't know where you live with respect to target areas for eligibility, but again, those funds are very limited, and you literally could be doing a few blocks at a year or at a time. There just aren't that many funds if your area was eligible. But the third bit of advice, and maybe this is common sense, and maybe you and your neighbors are already doing this, but many homes, most homes have yard lights, porch lights. Use them, turn them on. I walk around our neighborhood, and I don't live that terribly far away from you, and a lot of times people don't do that. Will that be a little more money in your energy bill? Yeah, probably will, but there are LED and CFL lights that you can use for outdoor lighting that cut down the cost of a 60 or 100 watt, incandescent lamp. So encourage your neighbors to put on any and all porch lights, yard lights. Many homes have those, and that does a reasonably decent job of at least lighting up the area beyond the street, of course, not the street itself, but that may help give the appearance of a little better visibility at night. So those are the only three options I have. Those are the city policies we have. Those are the choices we have. Outside of some other revenue source that I'm not aware of, have the money, have the time, we can do it, but I'm not aware where that funding source would be.
Okay, you want to say something else?
Yes, first off, we use our porch lights.
Good.
That's
Good.
no problem. My thing is safety at all time. Okay? The way that our block's set up, you could come on our block. I live 1509 South Rutledge in Urbana.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Off of Florida. Okay? And Michigan. Okay? Now, the problem is our home sits back. Our porch lights, okay, just lights a portion of our yard, our front yard. So on the street, there's no lights,
Right.
Absolutely
Right.
no lights. And it's very dangerous when you're getting out of your car and it's a car approaching you. Or maybe I'm approaching someone who's getting out of their car, maybe a neighbor or something, and you're just about to hit that person because you can't, again, what? See them. It is pitch black. In other words, you can't hold your hand in front of your face and see that. The neighborhood is a dark, dark area, and the children in our neighborhood has picked up. I live on a block, majority the elderlies, okay? It's about 2 of us that's young as I am. That's it, just 2 of us. Everyone else is older. And what happened was they have moved in young people in other areas and on our block some sort where they have children now. And I just hate to see, something happen, and I'm saying, hey, something have to be done here. I don't care how much money it costs. We shouldn't have to pay for it because the city decided to expand our area, or either say, hey, we're going to make this area bigger, put more people out here, put more cars, put more danger, put more lives in danger. That's how we looking at it. So if the city have the money, they should be responsible. When you develop something, as you guys have mentioned about the new project on University, there's going to be a problem. And we just know it is, because that's why y'all bringing it out now. And then say, well, that was a concern we had, and it's going to be 15 million accidents on University because you're building that property probably for the campus students. So everyone don't take precaution, okay? And everyone don't do the right thing. I don't do the right thing 100% all the time. I don't know if you guys are always perfect and do the right thing and think before you do something. That might be the case. I don't know. I can't judge you. I don't know you. You might be perfect. I'm not. So, I'm just asking for street lights now because things have changed now. And as we grow, I can see now, okay, crime rate have picked up, burglaries have picked up in our neighborhood. We never had a burglary. Now we have several burglaries out there. Read the police report. See what's happening. We're homeowners. We work very hard. And we're just saying that we like to protect our property, protect our children, protect the safety of our neighbors, other neighbors and their children. That's what we're asking for. And if you're saying that 3% or 4% is just a little money to you, maybe it is, but you don't know our neighborhood situation or our income situation, the people that lives in that area. You don't know their income. So 3% might be too much for them. You understand what I'm saying? So it's not the matter of we could charge you just a little bit charge might be too much. We're asking that we don't pay anything.
Well, we'll have to work out what it's going to cost, and
Yeah.
But thank you for coming. And there's no further business. This meeting is adjourned.